Time for MMA Out Loud with Carl Two Eyes Shipkin. Carl Two Eyes Shipkin. Kid Shimmy. And the rest of the MMA Out Loud crew. We're taking the gloves off. This is MMA Out Loud. The latest and best MMA news on the air. We take you behind the octagon.
Camarillo here with MMA Out Loud and ActionSite.com. I'm joined today by Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Judo mastermind Dave Camarillo. Dave is also the head grappling instructor at American Kickboxing Academy. Welcome, Dave. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule to be here with us today.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you.
So, first thing that I want to jump into, something that was announced very recently was the matchup of Jon Fitch against BJ Penn coming up February 27th at UFC 127 in Australia. Now, you and BJ trained jiu-jitsu together under Ralph Gracie for a while. How long did you guys train together?
A little over 2 years. Back in the day, I think at the time, I was a blue belt, he was a white belt. He caught up really fast. I think by the time he left, we were both purple belts, something like that.
Okay. Now, after you and BJ parted from the Ralph Gracie Academy, the two of you remained pretty close friends. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. I actually even went down when BJ fought Renzo Gracie, and BJ called me and said, "Hey, come down, be part of my training camp." I had something conflicting, but I ended up getting there to corner with him. We've kept the relationship here and there. We don't talk every single day, but I have tremendous respect for BJ. He'll always have a place in my heart.
Okay. Now, one of the things I've heard also is that you guys have occasionally invited each other to guest teach at each other's academies. Is that correct?
Yeah, this was a while ago again. He actually came to AKA because of his ties with AKA. His start in the UFC was under Javier Mendez and the American Kickboxing Academy when I was not there. It's when because he left house early, went to AKA to be a fighter. And he had some great success there. So it was kind of when I first got to AK, which was 2003, I think it was like 2004, 2005, he just came down as a friend and taught a class, and we had like 60 people on the mat. And I actually went down there as well for a separate trip. I think we were doing shooting his book, and I taught a class. And it's just it's a thing where if I'm down there, I'll teach a class for him. If he's around and he has time, he'll teach a class for me maybe.
Okay, so one of the questions that I think that's on a lot of fans' minds is, what does it feel like to have one of your top students in Jon Fitch face one of your friends and former training partners?
Well, I mean, there's definitely mixed feelings, and it'll be across the camp. I mean, I talked to Javier briefly, and I don't think anybody particularly likes this matchup, and not because of stylistically, more because of the history and the emotional ties involved. But for me, I said this in a recent interview, my number one goal is to get Fitch the title shot, and I'm really kind of ignoring, again, the history behind AKA, myself, and BJ Penn. I have a goal, and I honestly feel at this point in my life, if I fail that goal, then I feel that my career is a failure. That's how much effort and focus I'm putting into Jon Fitch personally. I feel that if he does not get a title shot, then I failed. So my number one goal for my job and my time at AKA and kind of my life story here and my life's work is to get Jon Fitch, whoever he faces, the title shot. So this is business, and we're gonna go in this 100%.
Okay, so one of the other things I wanted to ask as well is, since you have been training Fitch pretty much from the beginning of his jiu-jitsu career, how do you think Jon matches up against BJ Penn in a purely jiu-jitsu sense?
Well, I mean, if they're training with a gi, I don't know. I mean, Jon has some strengths, that BJ does not have, and vice versa. BJ's definitely the master on the ground, and I would put BJ a little bit ahead of Jon. But again, this is, it's hard for me to answer that because they're not doing a jiu-jitsu competition, nor are they doing no-gi competition. This is a fight, and the fights are very different. I'm very confident in Fitch's abilities everywhere. So we're definitely coming in with confidence, and Fitch is a great student that pays attention and executes game plans perfectly. So, we expect him to do that, and we're starting his technical training right now, and his training camp starts in the near future.
Okay, so that's actually a good point that I want to hit on. You said you guys are preparing Fitch everywhere, ground, stand-up. We know that Jon has a great wrestling pedigree, but he's also been working very hard on his striking with guys like Javier Mendez, Gary Owens, and the rest of the crew at AKA. Where do you actually see this fight taking place in your mind? Do you see it going to the ground? Do you see it staying on the feet?
I think this fight will go everywhere. I think, Jon has prepared for everything. I think, Jon is a true mixed martial artist. A lot of guys, even guys in the UFC, are not MMA fighters, even though they fight MMA. Jon is prepared to fight everywhere. He'll fight on his back if he has to. So, I don't sit there. We have game plans and we have strategies, and we definitely have an opinion on how we believe the fight will go. But, to say it's going to do this and that is a little bit ignorant, especially at this level, and especially fighting BJ Penn. BJ is, as everybody knows, I don't even have to say it, he's a super dangerous fighter. And he's very high level at the lightweight and welterweight and 85 and 205 and open. Like, the guy is that dangerous. So, we got a lot of work cut out for us, but Jon Fitch will be ready to fight everywhere.
Okay. And now one last thing on this particular subject. You mentioned that you spoke to Javier Mendez, the owner of AKA, about this matchup and the history. I'm wondering, have you and BJ spoken since this matchup was announced? No, we probably won't speak. And I might see him, at the weigh-ins or whatever, and I'll definitely talk to him. I'm the kind of guy that I can shut it off. I didn't used to be able to, but this is business. So, like, when I see him, I will light up. Like, every time I see him, I light up. It's an emotional high for me when I see BJ, because he's such a cool guy, and the history that I've had with him, and it's just been a pleasure, having the history that I've had with him. So, if I see him, I'll light up. I hope he takes it the same way. I'm not him, but this is business. And when he took the fight, he knows the fight he was taking. He knows that Dave's going to be in the corner, Javier's going to be in the corner. It's not a situation where we're super happy that this is the matchup, but in a business sense, I'm happy, but in a history sense, it's not so great. But he knows we'll take it. This is business, and he knows we'll come in to try to win, and he's going to come in and try to win, and that's just the way it is. So I guess either way, in terms of the outcome, it'll end up being bittersweet. Would you say that's correct?
Yeah, that's probably the best way to say it. We're not coming to lose.
Yeah.
We're not messing around. We don't mess around. And again, let me stress that I consider myself, the position I'm in with, even having a world title with Cain Velasquez and even Josh Thompson, that at this point in my life with AKA, I will consider my career a failure if I do not get Jon Fitch the title shot.
You're listening to MMA Out Loud.